Okay, welcome again. Sorry for this mistake. Something just went wrong in my PC, so really sorry for the mistake again. This live is opening, and so welcome everyone. Okay, very sorry. The live was interrupted. It's my mistake actually. Again, please, I need maximum sharing with your friends so we can start immediately. Sorry for this delay. I said 9 o'clock. It's now 5. Okay, and you sit down there. Okay, so hope everyone is good there. So I need people to start, Master 2 students. I need also those who are writing the PhD come to this discussion. We can have a good discussion here. We can talk about what's going on. Okay, my cameraman is also joining the party, it seems. So yes, I'm waiting for you. Okay, you can share. Please, I need maximum sharing. I need maximum sharing with your friends. Okay, I was also waiting for your comments, waiting for questions. I need to see that section of the sharing to have a good number there. Okay. I see, okay, I see self-view. So as I said, that this live video is about writing dissertations. So it's everything concerning that regard. So I'm waiting for you to join. Okay, you're coming. My cameraman has arrived. So, okay, you come here. Okay, so we're still waiting. I need maximum share with your friends. My students, if you are here, you can also share this to our group, the University of Jaffa group, the Department of English, so they can also join us. Okay, we wait. So, Bismillah. So, let me start talking about writing your dissertation. So one of the problems that students now, like most of the problem, they tell me that I haven't started yet, and this is like really a big issue for students who still did not start or haven't started yet. So this category of students, of course, we need to really give them our attention. And we move to the students who said that students that they have started, but they're still struggling with writing their dissertation, especially if they are writing the literature review or trying to link the theoretical part with the practical part, or even those who have problems. Let's say, for example, even picking a title. So these haven't started already. So I'm waiting for the questions. Those who have any problems, so please join and start sharing. I see only one share. I need you to share to your friends, to all groups that they are Master 2 students, so we can start. And if you have any questions, of course, you can write it immediately in the chat section. So let's start with the first thing that I'm going to talk about. Some students, they say that I have a problem even picking a title. I don't know what to write. I need something to be original, etc., etc. So these usually the questions that deal with the titles or the research itself. So let me start first with the very important um, idea that to students who are still struggling, you should remember that one of the key elements in choosing a title, it should be the first thing, that's the interest and the relevance of that topic. That topic should be kind of relevant. Now, there's this idea of relevant to what exactly or to whom. Here, the easiest thing you can say that, good afternoon, thank you. So the easiest thing to say that any topic of research should be relevant to the community, to a local community. So if you are if you are doing research, let's say, for example, you live in a city, that city is supposed to be your primary concern when it comes to research. Maybe you start first with your local community, let's say, for example, your department, then let's say first your classroom, then let's say your department, then let's say, for example, your city, your neighborhood. So this is most important. He said literature to review how to quote a quotation. Well, quotations, as you have put them there, Mr. Mohammed, it's simply that you want, when you have a very piece of writing that is really good, and you feel that if you paraphrase it, it's gonna lose that either the meaning or that charm of it. Sometimes we use a quotation. Sometimes also quotation can be used when, for example, you want to show to your reader the original phrase from where you got that quotation. Let's say, for example, it was written, let's say, for example, by the father of that field, for example. Here in this case, taking a quotation will be something good, but we need to be careful. Of course, when it comes to quotation, myself as a supervisor, I don't like to see so many quotations. I say, for example, I can tolerate five, four in 10 pages, but that's it. I don't like to see like many quotations. That means that the students cannot write, or when this is a kind of problematic. Except I have something to say to you why I prefer to complete my study in America. I'm just simple, but there's a lot of students like me. Is that a problem? No, it's not a problem. We all want to study abroad. That's a good thing. But let's face it, you want to study abroad, but still you need to study here. It's not, don't make that an excuse. Say that I just want to study abroad, so I'm not going to study here. It's as if that, no, start here, do your best. Means that if you are going to United States, as you say, means that I believe that here you will be the top student. So be the top student, and of course, either you are going to get a scholarship or maybe you will have the chance to travel. So don't make an excuse. Study here and also abroad. Do we have to paraphrase everything we take? Most likely, yes. When it comes to literature review is simply paraphrasing. It's really simply paraphrasing. You are paraphrasing everything. And of course, because in the literature review is something that is not yours, this is, as it said, literature review. You are reviewing what has been written before. So this is why you are paraphrasing. This is why referencing here is very important. For example, a golden rule I say to my students these days when it comes to writing, I said every sentence should have a reference, like every paragraph, sorry for that. Every paragraph should be referenced because you know today we have the AI, artificial intelligence. We have so many ways that can, in fact, help you write. So what's the difference between a paragraph written by an AI and a paragraph written by you, except only the reference, and of course, when we talk about writing style. Okay, so let's say, so my question is, can we write a research problem in form of a short paragraph? Let me see, what do you mean? Like, and are the aims as the objective and the study in Master 2? I didn't get your question, Miss Fatim Zahra. Can you clarify? So many questions. Can we write a research problem in a paragraph? Research problem usually is a problem, like that's a problem statement. Usually one paragraph, two paragraphs, of course, accompanied by the research questions. But try to be more specific so I will understand. Okay. Thank you. Okay. Um, wait. Okay, so we have what if the sample I chose is from other community which I don't belong to? It's not a mistake, but as I said, the researcher obligation or why research is important and relevant when we deal with a problem that it's interest to our local community, let's say for our classroom, my department. I find some students that sometimes they say they are trying to solve a problem that is not our concern. Let's say, for example, they talk about something in the United States or Europe. No, I do believe that even students, for example, those who go abroad, one of the conditions they usually tell them is like when you pick a topic that is going to solve a problem in your own community, like your own country. This is one of really important. This is why a topic can be interesting. Okay, in didactic, is it preferable to conduct an action research? question because most of the topic is individual, requires individual, but has many challenges. Well, look, in didactics, either we want to solve a problem or you want to shed light on the problem. If your research is exploratory in nature, just you want to explore nature, and this is one of the things I tell my students. First, you have to identify the problem. I always tell my students, you can do purely quantitative research. Let's say, for example, you bring the papers of the students, let's say your students, and you analyze all the mistakes, grammatical mistakes and everything. So you kind of draw tables, you draw graphs, and you see all the mistakes that's there on their papers. So this is purely quantitative, but it's not an action research. It's action research in the sense that you are gathering data, you want to identify problem and talk about problem, but it's not to intervene to fix the problem. That's research is just to shed light. So it is kind of exploratory research. This kind of research is like we don't see so many students do because mainly because they are purely quantitative and because maybe they really require effort. To do action research, let's say for example you have a cure. قال عندي دواء, I have a cure. The cure is simply, for example, you can have a certain method that you want to apply. It's going to fix a problem. Let's say, for example, your problem you want to fix is anxiety, or you want to fix, let's say, poor writing style, etc. So you have a cure, and this cure, of course, you are going to apply it. In this case, you are going to use an experimental approach. You are going to use the you are going to use the treatment group and the control group in this sense. So no, it's not difficult, even action research, because you can limit the scope of any experiment you want to do. Okay, I need people to share a lot. I need to see people sharing. Please do. Any ideas about the the idea of hypothesis? It's quite simply, well, if you have, especially when we talk about experimental approach. If you want to do an experiment, let's say, for example, I have a cure. Let's say, for example, this is a cure. This cure, I'm going to give it to some students and they will write better. Of course, it's not going to be in the form of a bottle of water, but it's going to be, let's say, for example, a certain method you are going to use, certain activities you are going to use. Now, these activities, if you are going to use them, now you are going to hypothesize. They're saying that if I use this method with this, it's going to work. So the hypothesis is going to be a declarative sentence. You are going to say the implementation of this method is going to help students yield better results. Let's say, for example, in writing skill. This is the idea of hypothesis. You have the solution. You started thinking, you know the solution. You don't know the solution. You know the proposed solution. You are hypothesizing that is going to work. That's the idea of hypothesis. I want to be S. I don't know this dead word. What if you mention something you have studied before, but you don't remember who said it? When it happens a lot, what it matters that sometimes you have a piece of information you have divulged in your literature review, you don't remember exactly where you got it from. If it's kind of general knowledge that I can find in so many books, I can use any book and I still is going to be linked to the idea. But still, for example, if that piece of information is mentioned in several books and I know that I don't remember which one exactly, either I can say, for example, because I have read 3 or 4 books, I can all cite them, or I can use only one. Except if you have used a quotation, in this case, no, you need to be so precise and you need to use the exact book. Only in this case, you have to be really careful. I want to say something. All legend here. Okay. What if the value laden in a research is based on the participant's perspective? How would their opinion be beneficial? My topic is about investing, teacher's perspective, investigation, I think, boundary research, what's the belief? Okay, look, we know that we have the mixed method approach. We can have the quantitative or we can have the qualitative. Let me give you an example. If I'm going to do research about, let's say, for example, the use of technology in class, I can opt for 2 things. Either I can design my experiment and I go and bring technology and do everything. What if I find myself that I'm not able to do an experiment? Maybe I don't have access to the classroom. Maybe I don't have resources. And I know a teacher who is using technology in class. So in this case, instead of doing the experiment, I just go to that teacher and take his or her perspective in the matter. because he or she is using the technology. So all what I need to elicit information from the teachers, not from the experiment itself. In this case, I'm taking knowledge from the perspective of the informant. And this is what we do in the qualitative research. We go to the informant and we ask, well, in some cases, we can opt for either, in this case, I just give the example, you can use the quantitative or the qualitative. So this is how you go to teachers and you take only their perspective, because you are saying, because there is a question you have to be aware of, why you chose that teacher. You chose that teacher because he's knowledgeable, she's knowledgeable in that field. So you know that they have knowledge concerning that let's say that matter you want to investigate. So you are eliciting information from them instead of directly using quantitative approach and use the experiment. This is the only difference. I hope this answers your question. If it doesn't, you can ask. Please write your email for future project. Okay, no problem. Yeah, I will write it to you, I think, when I finish my life. Would you please state briefly what elements should be taken into consideration when critiquing a novel? Oh dear. I don't know, via Dol Sura. When it comes to novel, I really have no idea how we criticize novel. I usually deal with linguistics, sociolinguistics. I deal with methodology, but how to create a novel, I don't have information in this regard. How to write a research aims and research questions. I mean, what are the points? Those I had based on to write both research aims and research questions. Okay, look. When it comes to research questions usually they are direct and you're supposed to find answers to. Now, research aims usually they are kind of very general. Let's say, for example, I'm going to give an idea. If I say my research aims to help students or to reduce anxiety with students, or to reduce anxiety, or let's say to help students write better essays. Let's say to write better essays. This is general. This is bit general. That's why we read research questions. A research question can be, for example, like how a certain method, let's say, for example, is going to help teachers, or this is a very direct question. Or for example, my research question, what kind of problems students suffer from, let's say, for in the case of writing skill. So because each question, you're supposed to answer it either first by doing a literature review, if the question can be found in the literature review, and of course, we need practical research. Let's say, for example, in my case, I'm working with my students, for example, in Jaffa University, and I want to investigate their writing problem. So my question should be like, what kind of, let's say, writing problems my students have? This question implies that I'm going to do a very practical research. So as I said, aims are very general and objective, they are very specific. Objective usually are equal to the questions. And so always you have to focus on two things, the questions, the objectives, and the research questions. Okay, do we have other questions? Okay. If we have two variables, but they focus on one variable more than the other, do we allow to talk more about the other and just mention, look, sometimes variables, yeah, sometimes we can have two variables. One is important now. Usually you will have one that is more important than the other. I'm giving you an example. Let's say, for example, I'm going to talk about the relationship between anxiety and oral skills or the speaking skills. Now, if I talk about anxiety is purely something deals with psychology. So at the end, we are not psychologists. We don't study psychologists. We can use information, studies from psychology, and relate that to speaking skills, and we are in the field of applied linguistics here. So if you focus, like you really focus on the idea of psychology and the idea of anxiety, you will find yourself drifting to psychology. And this is why you will find yourself focusing more on the correlation between the two and focusing also more on the idea of speaking skills, because always you have to remember, and this is something I advise my students always not to forget, that we are fixing problems that deals with didactics, or we deals with language, with the acquisition and learning of language. We are not dealing with something that psychologists deal with. This is something you have to remember, of course, and you can even mention it. Okay, when doing a questionnaire, can we use questions from other dissertation and questionnaires either copy paste, shall we? Okay, I'm going to be honest with you. One of the things that I ask my students even to do, I ask my students to, okay, no problem in adapting questionnaires, adapting questions from previous studies, because especially if you take questions from a study that is published on the internet and something that is going to, so we make sure that these questions are really well made. There is no problem with that. Of course, I have to emphasize that you need to do this with the permission of your supervisor. Without the permission of your supervisor, that's going to be a problem. I even ask my students to use ChatGPT, to use artificial intelligence to help them in generating research questions of questionnaires. So I don't find any problem, but of course, this is going to be really problematic if you don't ask your supervisor. So that's something I would say, do it first. How do we analyze an interview? An interview is simply a questionnaire, but because you will have the question in front of you, and the moment you have designed the question, you know that each question is going to serve a purpose. This is why that before doing a questionnaire or before doing an interview, you need to ask yourself why I have asked every question. You need to be very sure why you have asked questions. That only in that sense. So, for example, with your supervisor, when you sit with him or her, say, this question I have asked it because I need that. This question is for this reason. This question is for that concept. They have to be very related. As if, for example, I'm investigating, let's say, for example, anxiety. And I go to the teacher and I ask, for example, a question like, for example, can you tell me, let's say, for example, students who suffer from anxiety, can you tell me about is there any problem, like, for example, do you notice anything with gender differences or between male and female? So if you ask this question, you should know before that I have asked this question in order to see the differences, whether male or female suffer from anxiety. So this is why it's very important to know the rationale. وهذه حاجة دائما نقولها by the way. نقول للطلبة ما تكتبش حاجة حتى تعرف why. كلش. مثلا عندك sample why. The sampling technique علاه درت sampling. Use this quantitative or qualitative why. مرات حتى نقول the why not. مثلا I have asked question. When you write, you have asked questions. Sometimes you can even say why not, why you didn't ask, for example, other questions. ما على بالك ممكن نهار جوري تريح معاهم يقول لك انت علاه ما درتش هذه علاه ما درتش هذه is a problematic. That's why I said it's not only the why, sometimes even it's the why not that's also a matter. Okay, am I too late to do an experiment? Is it right that I had to start earlier? شوف والله نكونوا صريحين, you're not late. You're really not late. You still have time. Um, and you can do an experiment, design the experiment and do the experiment, but it depends on how many sessions. For example, if you are doing sessions, like the time of the experiment. If your experiment is going to take only 1 or 2 weeks, it's not a problem. You do have time. We still have time before the vacation. You might have like 1 or 2 weeks before the vacation, but I do urge you that to do it very, very soon. Otherwise, you will have problems because still we don't know what's can happen. What about using quotes? I have just said that using quotes can be a good thing, but can be a bad thing. For example, the idea of using a lot of quotes is problematic, means that the students really, they don't know how to write. But if you use 1 or 2 quotes and I ask why, يا مادام الحين علاه نخدموا بالكوت تعجبك حاجة piece of writing واللي يكون كاتبها يكون صح اكتب حاجة like a masterpiece that تعرف باللي كانت لها paraphrasing تقتلها تخسرها تقضي عليها كما قلت انا قال لها كان نرفدها ونحطها I preserve it هي معنا نخليها بتقعد ضاوية. This is the only way, the only reason I see why you put a quote. Other thing, if you don't, just paraphrase it. اللي ما يعرفوش تلقاه يكتب لك paraphrase باي يحط لك quote انا نعرف ما يعرفش يكتب and it's rather really problematic. احنا كان يقول لك في ال PhD thesis يقول لك ما تكتبش one or two quotes in a chapter. يعني one or two quotes in a chapter. Dissertation كما نقولوا master dissertation I can allow like four in a chapter but no more than that. Okay, literature review and master dissertation is mostly synthesizing. Others argument. What about PhD? Which style of the student should write? شوف معايا miss. When it comes to PhD, it's the same thing but there is something else. خاصك نفهموا what are the functions of literature review. الفانكشن الأولى miss ليلي. الأولى is to summarize what has been said before. This is one. When you are summarizing, كاين سؤال. Why are you summarizing? Maybe to find the current state of the literature. معناك تحوسي what are the recent theories, etc. Maybe you are going to use these theories. كاين مرات we don't need only that. We need kind of summary to show that there is a chronological order. Maybe you're doing some kind of investigation, analyzing. Maybe. There is something else. Sometimes you kind of talk about all of this, not to focus on one theory, maybe to show that there is something missing. And then the gap, the missing gap. You talk about one theory, second theory, third theory, just to say that there is something missing in all these theories. And there is another idea in the literature review. It shows how you think. درك انايا كيجيني طالب يكتب لي ليترشر ريفيو كان نعطيكم نفس الموضوع نكتب نقول زوج كتبوا نفس ليترشر ريفيو they won't write the same thing because the literature review is going to show your way of thinking راح تبين لي كيفاش تفكر كيفاش راح تدخل الموضوع what kind of theories are going to use درك اذا كنتي هكذا مثل اللي راح تكتبي الليترشر ريفيو تكتبيها بهالطريقه and I feel really what you want ودائما دائما تفكر باللي even writing a literature review راها behind a question دائما نقول انا writing a literature review there is a questions behind literature review احنا مثلا كي تبدا literature review تاعك راح تسقسي مثلا what is the relationship between writing skills and مثلا for example years of study هذا طرحت سؤال كيما هكذا راك تقول لي نجاوب عليه من literature review معناه it's easy تروح تمشي تقرا واش كاين so always there is a question behind the literature review هذاك الكويشن you are answering it الطريقه اللي تجاوب عليها it's going to show your way of thinking وغير تبان الطريقه تاع التفكير نتاعك في literature review نعرف باللي someone is behind this literature review مش كتبها لي ميكرو ولا واحد قاعد يدير لي كوبي كولي ولا يدير لي بارافريز خاطر كاين من واحد يتيتيون يقول لك انا درت بارافريز وهي بارافريز كان يشوف راك كوبي كولي ما درت والو. This is why you need to show your way of thinking. You show way of thinking in writing that, in answering that question. Okay. Okay. صح نمشو عندنا sir miss صح sir my topic is about teachers opinion opinions about ways to enhance ZFL learners vocabulary retention good I like it I'm confused with the methodology that I can use with pupils after taking teachers question opinions درك حنا خصنا نسقسوك إذا كان سؤالك إذا كان البحث نتاعك miss نورات it's just about opinions معناها it's only about if it's only about opinions so you are going to only take opinions now if it's about something else now there is another story دوك انا خاصني نفهم انا دائما الحاجه اللي تهمني what's your aim اذا كان to enhance learners vocabulary retention معناها the opinion راكي تسقسي هنا means راكي باغا تسقسيهم على طرق راهم يستعملوها to enhance that so it's only questionnaires أنا ممكن نقول لك you do questionnaires and interview with teachers ومن بعد maybe you are going to do questionnaires with learners to see if the methods used by the teachers are effective or not هنا معناها استعملنا questionnaire or interview with learners or interview with teachers من بعد كي واش ندير أنايا I do triangulation نشوف whether there is kind of maybe it's working or not okay I carry on so I hope this is helps you. If it's not, just tell me. Okay, is there amount of using quotation in the theoretical part which Miss Zainab, I always say I don't like them. I don't like them a lot. It's like it's to me they are really to show, is going to show that you don't know how to write well. So this is something I really would advise not to do. Okay, I am didactic. You are didactic. I am a didactic student, and I am very interested in education psychology. Can you suggest? You have a lot of topics in a problem with education psychology. كي تقول مثلا you are dealing with all the affective factors in language teaching, anxiety, stress. هادو كاع كي نحكوا عليهم هادو كاع راهم يدونا psychology. And it's really good topic because most of the problem واش رانا نهضروا هاد اليوم نهضروا على motivation, نهضروا على attitudes, نهضروا على stress, نهضروا على kind of diseases, نهضروا على depression. هادو كاع they are part of education psychology. One of the problems that رانا نشوفوها especially after post pandemic, we deal with a lot of students having depression, they can't study, they are not motivated. So you have all these kind of topics. Myself, I have students working, like, for example, even some controversial topics concerning education psychology. So you have a lot, and trust me, they are all interesting. Can you please show me how to write the theoretical part? What should we focus on? What are the steps that we should follow? شوف أول حاجة, Miss Nora, as I said, ask yourself, why am I writing a literature review? Am I just providing only a summary? If I'm providing only a summary, there is something missing because usually we need a summary. صح summary, we have to ask عليها راني نمد في summary itself. قال I'm giving a summary. قال I'm giving a summary to show the recent theoretical advancement in this particular field. غير تولي عندك كلمة كيما هذه خلاص ما you are providing advancement in this particular idea. Okay. Okay, so let's carry on. Now, if you have, for example, let's say another aim. Let's say, for example, I'm not going just to show like the recent field. راح نحط لك كاع النظريات. Like I'm going to give you theory 1, theory 2, theory 3. Then I'm going to show that maybe in these theories that there is something missing, that there is something missing in the literature that I want to talk about. فهمنا? So it's going to be inserted and you are going to provide this topic. نعطيك مثال, one of the topics that I do really like. I supervised 2 years ago. So one of my students, she worked on the problems married women have when they study master 2. الموضوع هذا ما الناس ماهيش هاضره عليه بزاف, يعني ما نهضروا كاع دايما نشوفوا students وخلاص. But these students, she was really interested in to see that married women, what kind of problems they have. They can finish what kind of problems can they finish their master studies? Do they excel in their master studies? So even when she was dealing with the literature review, we showed that there is something missing in this part. And this is maybe something particular, say, for example, with an Algerian master too, say, for example, just saying. Thank you, really, or thank you so much. Thank you, Mr. Mustafa. Sir, I'm going to apply 3 different ways of teaching vocabulary in my group 3. That's a lot. Should I keep the same group pupils or choose 3 different groups and apply only when? No, it depends on the design. إذا عندي one group, if I have one group, I can use the same group and I provide a treatment and provide a way of teaching. Then I'm going to do another. Then I'm going to apply the treatment. Then again, I'm going to do tests. If I have only one group, you can have like, for example, several. You have 2 groups. Maybe it's going to help you. But this is, of course, you don't have control on. For example, if you have a group, you have it. If you don't, you don't. So this is something dictated by what you have. Okay, so please inform us about the theoretical part. I just talked about it. Just to rewind the review, I said the theoretical part should answer a question. دي حاجة الغلطة اللي بزاف اللي زيتيديو ينساوها اللي هي باللي حتى theoretical part is answering a question. بصح هذاك question can be answered through a literature review. Not like the practical part, which requires a practical or an experiment or data collection. هذه اللي دايما تفكرها. You are not only writing theory just for the theory. You are answering a question. دوك تبقى عليك هاو كيفاش راك تجاوب على هذا السؤال. He is going to set your way of writing differently. Okay, my camera is working. Yes, خلينا نستعرض. Oh, so let's carry on. Sir, my research is about investigating the effectiveness of using game-based learning on improving EFL student problem-solving skill. What is the nature of this research, descriptive or experimental? Oh, يا ربي دايما I felt this problem. Teachers of the oral module are already okay. Okay, so we need I didn't get the question. Using based now هنا شوف it depends on you. أولا كي تستعمل كلمة descriptive or experimental you are both describing either in the experiment or just descriptive. هنا راني نسقسي either is it a survey or is it an experiment. If it is a survey what? One minute. I'm sorry. If it is a survey, it means you are going to collect data from someone who already using this method or these games. But if you are going to use experiments, means you didn't find anyone who's using these games and you want to use these games. هنايا تولي راح تستعمل experiment. سما هي بقات عليا هنايا. إذا أنا I want to I collect data firsthand by doing an experiment, it's a good thing. بالك انا ما عنديش الوقت وما عنديش resources to do an experiment بصح نعرف اساتذه يخدموا بهذا الميثود. So in this case I can only do the survey. نروح نسقسي هاد الاساتذه ممكن نحضر بهم do observation وسي بون راني هنيت راسي. So it depends on really on you whether you have access to or resources so you can pull something like this. What would you do if we face fake references? You are collecting references. How can you find fake reference? ممكن راح تلقى fake reference. I don't. You are going to reference. So this question is kind of vague. What if we find articles that have the same titles we are working on? Should we change our title? Not really. Not really. I don't see why. خاطر احنا ماستر ديسيرتيشن ديجا رانا مطالبين دائما يكون عندنا براكتيكال فيه. هذيك الكلمه اللي تزيدها من بعد العنوان تسمى راك تزيد جامعه فلان ديبارتمون كذا معناها it's always going to you're providing something original especially in the practical field work. So I don't see that a problem. بصح كاين واحد المشاكل دائما try always to ask your supervisor. You always need to ask your supervisor in this regard. صح. Can we simplify the concept of triangulation? Can you okay in research triangulation شوف سهل خلاص. شراني انا دركا هضرت مديت مثال نتاع واحد مثلا I want to ask teachers about their opinions let's say on students problem in speaking skills. هاني سقسي فيهم مثلا ولا وصلت لنتيجة باللي teachers that are using certain ways to help students. معليش هاني سقسيتهم يقولك teachers yes we are using this way to facilitate مليحة. أنا نروح نمشي نسقسي الطلبة من جهة الأخرى قال الطريقة تاع الأساتذة is it good or not. هنا واش راني ندير؟ هنا ندير triangulation. I am putting the word of the teacher, the way they do it, with the opinion. So I'm using triangulation to see whether it is working or not. يعني from the perspective of the teachers, they say it works. And then I'm taking the perspective of the learner. قادر نزيد triangulation واش نزيد؟ نروح نحوس على لي نوت. أنا مثلا يقول لي طالب يقول لي okay I don't have any problem in writing skills I take it in my survey. نروح للأستاذ نقول oh do they have يقول لكم maybe no. I check the marks. If I see that all these three agree, they align with the idea, they don't have problem, it's good. بالك انت تسقسي الطالب يقول لكم مليح والاستاذ يقول لكم مليح كي تروح تشوف النقاط ما تلقى والو. Means here that triangulation is going to show something. This is the gist of the idea of triangulation. Is building learning grammar, vocabulary application suitable to be final project? Is building learning grammar. I think everything is علاه الجرامر ولا حنا راه عندنا لي زيتيديون ام 2 ما يعرفوش الجرامر. It's something عادي ماشي ام 2 على اساتذه ونخلطوها في الجرامر. It's a really good topic. I myself I like the idea of grammar and like to have this perfectness in language, so I do like it. When paraphrasing a quote, we should mention the citation we have took the origin quote from, or since we paraphrase, no need. When you paraphrase, if you use the APA, mostly you need only the book, just the book. You don't even the page, so you don't have any problem. And even you don't need about the original. You just need to reference where you took that idea from. That's it. Okay, I'm a Master 1, Applied Linguistics. Should we study one? Is start in a good book I can start with. Applied Linguistics, should we study no module concerning thesis writing? والله شوف thesis writing you can start by research methodology. بصح أنا نصيحة ليك start with YouTube videos. روح حوسي let YouTube videos how to write a dissertation, how to organize it. كي تبدأ الأمور واضحة شوية مش ما تستعبيش. You start a book about research methodology only for details. ما ندخلوش direct details otherwise you will hate it. Okay, my topic is the use of song to enhance vocabulary. Good, I like it. In third year primary school. My question, could I use just questionnaire? مستر محمد نو ما نجيش معك. نجم تستعمل كويشن. شوف اذا كان تروح للاساتذه والاساتذه هادو راهم يستعملوا teaching by song to enhance vocabulary معناها they are using it. هنا راح دير سيرفي راح تروح للاساتذه تقول لهم hey I need to ask you questions concerning what you're doing. Do it by questionnaire. You can do it by an interview. بس على بالي ماكش راح تخدم مع بزاف اساتذه. So you are going to use with specific number. So I would make it a case study and I would say work with do interviews. It will be very interesting. إذا تنجم دير experiment, that of course is going to be very, very helpful. Okay, can you talk please about the practical part after collecting data? How can we write based on our coding? Semi-structured interview. شوف كي تكون semi structured interview هي الانترفيو واش راح تحب منها اول حاجه when there is an interview people are going to provide you with data. This data is in the form of written dialogues or just at least pieces of writing. انت وش راح تدير usually when it comes to an interview you are going to compare what they have said with what they have in theory and with what you have proposed as maybe an idea on your research. For example, a teacher maybe is going to give you an idea that aligns with what you are saying. There will be alignment. Maybe a teacher is going to contradict you. There is going to be contradiction. Maybe you are going to find alignment between teachers. قال أنا أستاذ واحد زوج ثلاثة أربعة كاع قالوا هذه النقطة تمشي هكذا. Means that there is alignment. Maybe some teachers said this وأستاذ واحد خرج لك كاع عليهم وعطاك فكرة جديدة. Means that there's a problem. علاه احنا نقولوا هذا النوع من البحوث it's not just a survey. You are just collecting and talking about what people have and what they do. It depends of course on the question. يعني وش هو نوع السؤال اللي طرح. بس راح تقريبا وش راك تدير راك تحوس على similarities, differences between the different opinions, and you try to put all what you said against what you have said in the literature review. That's it. Yeah, the cats. غلقت الباب. Otherwise we have a problem. Hi, sir. First, EFL teaches perceptions of the use of assessment in higher education. The topic is first, shall we do any kind of data collection instrument? صح إذا عطنا مثلا teachers perceptions of the use of assessment in higher education is really good. معناها أول حاجة حرنا نهضروا على assessment, what is assessment, different types of assessment. من بعد نهضر على higher education, what makes higher education special and why it is special in assessment. Why have you related assessments and higher education? على ما قلتش higher education and just middle school. Why assessment on higher education? So these are all steps. Now data collection tool ما دام قلت كلمة perception معناها you are going to collect data from teachers directly. So it's kind of doing survey. Of course, you can add something more, like for example, you can do cross-referencing triangulation, asking students over how they are being assessed. You can also, for example, do observation, like not relying on either teacher, no students. You just do observation and see what is going on, how people are doing assessments. So you have different tools can be used. So you can question as interviews, and of course you can use observations, and of course use triangulation between the three. What are the appropriate research tools for the topic teaches intercultural awareness in the learning reading skill? Now it depends. انت وش راك تحوز؟ إذا راك تحوز awareness أنا وش قصد بها؟ They use certain methods or they just awareness, just attitudes or perception كما الأول. إذا كان perceptions معناها just question as you just ask them. حتى كي تقول perception or attitude يعني literally I'm just asking the opinion of teachers. يعني ما تسقسي فيهم what do you do? That's it. Okay, our teacher, how could I be a good writer of dissertation in few words? How could I pass PhD exams? شوف كاين واحد النصيحة لك. I maybe one day I'm going to share it, but I will share it here. الجماعة اللي حابة تفوتكم كل that PhD, this is your exam now. Write good dissertation. That dissertation is going to help you in your PhD. كاينة نصيحة نقولها ليزيتيديون تاعي. When it comes to writing your dissertation, تعلم مليح باللي كل title تكتبه make it like an essay, like a stand-alone essay by itself. هنا راح تسهل عليك طريقة الكتابة. It really is going to make your even life easier. After doing the research proposal, it's better to start with the practical part than more. It depends. It depends. كانوا مرات it's good to start with the practical. هي أحسن to start with the practical بصح. أنا مرات نقول للجماعة روح ابدأ بالثيوري. So you will be knowledgeable. على بالك كي تبدأ بالثيوري تلقى روحك فاهم. كي تبدا نيشان بالكورتي براتيك تلقى بزاف اسئله ديجا ما سقسيتهمش. انت تعاود تكتب في الثيوري تلقى واحد النظريه تلقى كلمه تقالت تقول انا علاه ما سقسيتش على هذه. That's why I really advise you start with theory. Sir, how do you feel about the use of AI such ChatGPT? أنا كده صدقني باغي نقولها لك صراحة. أنا I advise my students تاعي روح استعمل ChatGPT. تعلم منه. Use it to paraphrase. Use it نعطيكم حاجة. نقول لي زيتيديون تاعي روح مثل ChatGPT واش كتبت نتايا to correct your grammatical mistakes. علاه تجيب لي أنايا باراجراف عامرة أخطاء while you can use an artificial intelligence to correct it for you. علاه تعبني أنا. I have so many students to supervise. So do that and you can learn. علاه لازم نشوفوا chat GPT ولا AI دائما نشوفوا as negative. وحاب راح ندير فيديو على هذا. لا شوفوا as something good, something that can help you in writing. This is my idea. Concerning plagiarism, plagiarism كاينه. plagiarism الان صعب ودركها ما بيناتنا على بالكم. الناس راح تشريها من السيبه بشار قاعده واجده قاعده ديك الميموار. ماهيش تشات جي بي تي اللي راح يخرجنا plagiarism. Maybe it's going to make it easier بصح انا نتبنى باللي people they learn from it and it's easy to find that something was written. Practical word or the writing style, it's really obvious. Can we build a solid literature review in the thesis? Of course. How can we do it? أنا غير درك هدرت عليها. You can recheck my video again. I said you have to talk it first. لازم تبدأ من سؤال. It starts with a question. Then why are you writing this literature review? Is it just to summarize? Is it to show that there are so many theories, or to compare between theories, or maybe to show that something is missing in these theories, or maybe you want to build an Okay, let me carry on. Sorry, I have a problem. I think a connection. 1 minute. Okay, so we carry on. Bon, the idea هنا learning style, teaching style. بون مانيش فاهم بالضبط واش قاصد هنا خاطر الا هضرت على learning style وكيما راني فاهم باللي تهضر عليها from the perspective of learners وراك تهضر على teaching style from the perspective of teachers معناها you do kind of triangulation. معناها you have to be aware of how learners يعني كيفاش learners they want to be taught. So it's kind of difficult. I need more detail, Ms. Hadil. I need more detail so I can answer this question. Otherwise, my answer is going not to be really that beneficial for you. So our topic is about the role of authentic videos on learners' pronunciation. We have two variables. The first one's authentic videos, of course. And the second variable I'm wondering about it is supposed to be about listening comprehension, or should we mention? مادام راك تهضر authentic videos on learner pronunciation mean that you need learners to pronunciate. هاي باين عندك videos. You need to expose them to videos, or they are exposed to videos. It depends what are you talking about. And on the other hand, you want a way to survey or to find how learners they pronounce. I do think that's either you need kind of an experiment to control variables, or maybe you have specific students and these students they are already they're already watching authentic videos. It depends. So, um, unfortunately, because it's the module that explains how to write your thesis. More details about research. A master one didactic can use more than one tool to collect data. Of course, you can use more. Usually, we use more than one tool. Then مرات تلقى روحك تخدم questionnaire and an interview. Questionnaires and let's say, for example, an experiment. Observation and experiments. Most of the time. Rarely when we use only one tool. It's really rare. I want my work to be original and valuable. Do you advise to use primary, secondary? Of course, if you want your work to be original, means أنا دايما نقولها ونعاود. For a work to be original, you need first you need it to be very interesting. To be interesting, you have to deal with something that deals with your community. حاجة تهمك انت. نبدأ من الكلاس تاعي، نبدأ من الجامعة تاعي، نبدأ من البلاد تاعي. هنا هذه حاجة نقولوا حاجة original skill. Then of course you need to collect data from primary sources. يا الناس اللي راها عندها direct contact or هذه yes. If it's just literary work, no. If it's something just from a literature, it won't be original. Okay, any advice to write good literary review? Should I explain? Should I? Sorry. Okay, my cameraman. يا رب. Okay, write a good. Should I explain each quote in detail? Not really. أنا واحد من الناس قلت لكم الكوتس هادو they are either super good. هي الكوت خاصها تكون شارحة روحها like really explains itself. إذا لقيت روحك 1 minute. إذا لقيت روحك الكوت like you need to explain it trust me هنا راه عندك مشكل انت لا تمد لي حاجة then you explain it. You provide me with something that is directly clear. Okay, thanks. Thanks, lady. Okay, so my topic is about teaching strategies to develop group work. Let me toss. Okay, our topic is about teaching strategies to develop group work. We have talked about group work in the first section. In the second section, we'll talk about teaching strategies in general. What? شوف هي الغلطة ياك هي صح حاول قال مثلا group work teaching strategies to develop group work معناها أنت صح teaching strategies كان تهضر إلى teaching strategies وحدها راح تكون nonsense. أنا هنايا نشوف باللي group work is more important معناها I would advise group work يجي هو في الأول يعني هو section 1 ومن بعد I want to enhance it because I just said because it's so good دركا I have to enhance it by teaching strategies سما واش تلقى روحك الحاجه المليحه تلقى روحك هضرت على الجروب ورك كي تلقى روحك تهضر على تيتشينغ ستراتيجيز مباشره راك ثاني تهضر على جروب ورك وكان تعكسيهم راح يديروا لك مشكل. This is my advice Miss Rihan. Please save this live ان شاء الله بربي I will save it. Sir, what about the data analysis for questionnaire and interview? يعني فهمتكم كل سؤالك تحطه في الانترفيو وفي الكويشنير راه عنده هدف. لازم قبل ما تبدا كاع you should really know انا علاه سقسيت هذا السؤال. مش كاين واحد ماشي يجيب لك كويشنير كوبي كولي ولا هو غير يمدو ومن بعد في التالي يولي حاير انا علاه سقسيت هذا السؤال. That's why I said every question سقسي روحك هذا السؤال راني مسقسيه علاه راني مسقسي علاه مسقسي. من بعد واش راح دير انت في الاناليسيس. انا نعطيك مثال قال مثلا انا سقسيت مثلا some questions على anxiety مثلا تلقى ميلز عندهم كذا انا رقم يعني جندر ديفرنسز قال مثلا اذا ميلز وفيميل سفروا من انكزايتي من بعد تروح مثلا symptoms of anxiety مثلا ممكن تقول له تعطيه symptoms وتعطيه تشيك ليست انت يو ار انلايزنج قال ها هما السيمتومز ومن بعد مثلا يو دو كايند اوف كروس ريفرنس قال مثلا نشوف السيمتومز مع الجندر اسكو مثلا الميلز عندهم نفس السيمتومز الفيميل يعني راك تقارن كل سؤال ومن بعد تحاول تقارن الأسئلة بين بعضها. This is how you analyze. Of course, you have to use your intelligence and you try to notice if there is any pattern. Okay, I think I will end can I ask you a question? I think I will end the live. It was 1 hour already tight. I have a question concerning pilot studies in education. Are they not really? شنو pilot research ذاك الوقت حنايا you have to finish it. Yeah, pilot research ينفعك if you have a claim. قال مثلا أنا my research starts from a claim, from an idea, from a problem. قال مثلا this problem راه عندنا. To start with this claim and you don't have anything to back you up, sometimes you need a pilot research. قال I want to investigate students' problem with this particular issue. ما عندك حتى literature review that backs your claim. So وش راح تدير هنا? You start your pilot research. That is going to give you kind of a claim. It kind of gives you kind of evidence that warrants the start of your research. Thank you. It's appropriate to use observation on primary school learners. Yeah, of course you can. Observation can be used. صدقوني observation is used every time. مرات حتى في الكويشن في الانترفيو you are doing an interview but in the same time you are doing observation. It's only what is said but also how it is said that is important to us. What is exactly literature review? Literature review ارجع لي فيديو من قبل you will find me explaining a lot about literature review وراح يكون dedicated video إن شاء الله about it. Do you have some more information about intensive teaching English? Not really. It's lovely, Mom. I don't have that. Okay, I have to end this. This is the last question I'm going to deal with. My topic is teachers versus learner styles preferences. Probing the match. Whoa, like it. I really like it. صح هنكمل. The case study is مليحة. My first question is what I want to know, the structure or checklist for classroom observation. What are the okay. انت ما دام عندك teachers versus learner style. معناها ما دام راني نفهم كيما هكذا. You want to study the teacher styles and your learner styles. هنا so you need to collect data from the two parties. ها هي الأولى. Collecting data from two parties وراك تقول مثلا the match. معناها you doing triangulation. You collect data منها and you collect data منها and you're trying to see if this data, do you have data from today match or not. So I do find either you are going to use questionnaires or you are going to use, or much better, use interviews. Use questionnaires with learners because your babies soon you have so many. وفي الآخر use observation. معناها تريح في الكلاس أو تشوف how they teach and you do this calm observation you see, and this is kind of triangulation and I think it would be a good thing. Could you please leave us your email address? Okay, I will leave it by the end of this الآخر تلقاه in one of my comments. In the literature review, it's important to write a general thesis. Okay, I have to stop here. I'm very sorry. I got super tired. So I would really like to thank you so much for joining me in this night meeting. I really enjoyed the questions. Of course, I do hope that my answers were beneficial to you. And of course, we will have more, inshallah, videos in the future. What I want you to do me a favor, share it to your friend. I want you to follow this page. I want you to subscribe to my YouTube channel. And of course, it's also going to be available in my YouTube channel, inshallah. So thank you so much. Have a good night and see you soon, inshallah.